Well, the United States has approved what it calls an emergency weapons deal worth nearly $150 million for Israel as tensions in the Middle East continue to rise and the confrontation involving Israel and Iran deepens. Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx Deep Dive. Well, the deal involves the transfer of around 12,000 BLU 110 bomb bodies, each weighing close to 1,000 pounds. These bomb bodies are essentially the metal casing of aerial bombs. Once filled with explosives and fitted with guidance systems, they become operational bombs that can be dropped from fighter jets during airstrikes. But what makes this decision particularly significant is not just the weapons themselves, it is the urgency with which Washington approved the sale. Normally, when the United States sells weapons to another country, the deal must go through a congressional review process in Washington. Lawmakers are given time to examine the proposal and raise objections if necessary. But in this case, the US administration invoked emergency authority, allowing the sale to move forward immediately and bypass the usual congressional review period. According to the US State Department, the emergency approval was justified because of the rapidly escalating conflict in the Middle East, particularly the ongoing military confrontation involving Israel, Iran, and regional actors. The emergency transfer is therefore meant to quickly replenish Israel's ammunition supplies, especially as sustained air operations require large quantities of bombs and munitions. Before this emergency deal, the United States and Israel were already deeply connected through extensive defense cooperation and weapons transfers. Israel is one of the largest recipients of American military assistance in the world, receiving billions of dollars in military support and purchasing large quantities of US-made weapons over the years. In fact, the two countries currently have dozens of ongoing military procurement programs and defense contracts, including fighter aircraft, missile defense systems, and advanced weapons platforms. Israel also has hundreds of active foreign military sale cases, with the United States worth tens of billions of dollars combined. Just earlier this year, Washington approved a major weapons package worth more than $6.6 billion, including Apache attack helicopters and assault vehicles for the Israeli military. That larger deal focuses on long-term military capability, equipment that will take years to manufacture and deliver. The new $150 million emergency package, however, serves a very different purpose. Instead of large systems like helicopters or aircraft, this deal focuses on munitions that can be used almost immediately in combat. Bomb casings like the BLU 110 are critical components of aerial warfare. Once they are filled and assembled, they become powerful bombs used by combat aircrafts during strikes against military targets. In modern warfare, ammunition consumption is extremely high. Air campaigns can rapidly deplete stockpiles of bombs and missiles. For a country engaged in sustained military operations, maintaining a steady supply of munitions becomes essential. That's why this deal is designed to quickly replenish Israel's operational stockpile, ensuring that its air force can continue conducting missions without facing shortages of key munitions. Beyond the battlefield, the decision also reflects the broader strategic partnership between United States and Israel. Israel has long been one of Washington's most important security partners in the Middle East, and the United States views Israeli military strength as a key factor in maintaining the regional balance of power. At a time when tensions with Iran are escalating and the risk of a wider regional conflict is increasing, Washington appears determined to ensure that Israel retains a strong military edge. At the same time, global conflicts and rising geopolitical tensions also have economic implications, particularly for the defense industry. The United States is the largest arms exporter in the world, and its defense sector plays a major role in the country's economy. Many of the weapons used by American allies are produced by large defense contractors such as Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon Technologies, and Northrop Grumman. When a global tension is rising and wars are intensifying, demand for weapons and military equipment often is increased. Countries facing security threats tend to increase defense spending and purchase more weapons to strengthen their militaries. This creates new contracts and production orders for defense manufacturers, expanding the global market for military technology and strengthening the defense industry. However, while defense industries may benefit economically from increased demand for weapons, the broader consequences of conflict remain severe. Wars often lead to large-scale destruction, humanitarian crisis and instability across entire regions. The latest emergency weapons deal comes at a time when the Middle East is already experiencing one of its most volatile and dangerous phases in recent years. Military exchanges between Israel and Iran, along with involvement from other regional actors, have raised fears of a wider confrontation that could reshape the geopolitical landscape of the region. By approving this emergency transfer of bomb components, the United States is sending a clear message that it will continue to support Israel militarily during the current conflict. For Israel, the deal helps replenish critical munitions needed for ongoing military operations, and for Washington, it reinforces a long-standing strategic alliance and demonstrates its willingness to act quickly when one of its closest allies faces security challenges. And for the broader region, the decision highlights how military alliances, arms transfer, and geopolitical rivalries continue to shape the course of events in one of the world's most sensitive and strategically important regions. All right, let's talk about this. Joining us on the program is Major General Harsh Kakkar, defense expert. General Kakkar, I appreciate you being here with us. Well, you know, the bonhomie and the partnership between the Americans and Israel is, of course, very apparent. In fact, the Bible Belt in America also has a lot of sympathy and support for Israel. That is why every president who has been the president of the United States has no choice but to help Israel. But in this fight, does America have an advantage in terms of gaining any hegemony in the Middle East, or do you think it's Israel that's going to take all the brownie points?
Ultimately, the US is going to let Israel take on majority of the brownie points. The reason is Israel represents the US in the Middle East. Like you said, it's a balancing power. It's the one that the US banks upon to keep Middle East under check. While it works towards the Abraham Accords and to get the nations to support his Board of Peace for involvement in Gaza, nothing moves without Israel's approval. And frankly, I think the war on Iran is a quid pro quo for the US's Board of Peace, because the US wants to get in countries which are totally anti-Israel, whether it be Pakistan, could be also Turkey, though there's no sign of it yet. But if the push comes to shove, then US will need to pull these guys in, and he needs Israel's backing. So in all probability, that is the state. The fact on this arms deal, it implies that despite the reserves that Israel has held, of course, it would have prepared for the war. It was very well clear that the war is going to take place. There was no doubt it was only a matter of 2-3 days up or down when it would have taken place. All its reserves are now going, and Iran has yet to come to heel. Iran is standing resilient. Now, this arms deal indicates that there is desperation in the US and Israel. How do you now come to an end state and terminate the conflict from a point of view of victory? And by moving these resources, especially the bombs there, it's giving Israel the ability to continue with it. Whether it's to replenish its expended stocks, whether it is to enhance its capabilities and continue with the conflict, we'll have to see as to how long it takes for delivery. We've got to realize that where do the stocks come from? In case it's an immediate transfer, it will come from the US reserves. If it comes from US reserves, then the US has got to restock its reserves. Now, though it has asked its defense manufacturing companies to enhance production, the inputs coming from there mention that it will take at least 4 to 6 weeks before enhanced production commences. And I don't think the war is going to carry on for 4 to 6 weeks. So at the moment, it is going to be from US reserves. Now, the second factor that comes in is definitely the other nations in the Middle East, which are running out of their missiles to block the Iranian onslaught of their missiles, have nowhere been considered. In fact, the objection from Middle East nations has been that the US has ignored us in favor of Israel. Now, that is something which the US would have to look at, and the way the war terminates, it may either be the end of US involvement in the Middle East, or one doesn't know whether Iran will ultimately agree to US terms, which I don't think it's going to happen. And the fact remains that no nation pushed to a corner will ever go down without a fight. And definitely a fight in such a case would involve bringing the neighborhood down along with it.
Fair enough, sir. I
It
appreciate you
has no
joining us,
option.
sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us. We've run out of time.